model of growth, our style, lifestyle, etc. Because let us ask ourselves, what's the point of being more competitive, of being more efficient, of being more productive in the so-called global market if, at the end of the day, instead of being more happy, we are less happy? What's the point? In other words, the happiness paradox says that utility is different from happiness. If we work harder, if we are more competitive, we increase utility because we increase money, and increase money increases utility. But that does not go hand to hand with happiness. Why? Because we know happiness has to do with interpersonal relations. You cannot buy happiness. You can buy utilities, but you cannot buy happiness, etc. So now, the question that the encyclica poses is the following. What lies at the origin of these paradoxes? The three I mentioned and other paradoxes I could mention. In other words, what is the ultimate cause generating this disease, this sort of a social disease? Because if you pay attention, these diseases, they have nothing to do with the lack of resources. It's not a matter of scarcity of resources, as we economists for almost 3 centuries we went on saying, that we reduced all the problems of societies to scarcity. Now there are no scarcity. There are too much. We have too many things, and still there are these type of paradoxes. The answer provided by Benedict XVI is the following, that these and other paradoxes are the results of the fact that in the last 30 years, more or less 30 years, a triple separation has been consumed. A triple divorce has been consumed. The first is the divorce or separation between the economic sphere and the social sphere. The second is the separation between labor, human labor, and wealth. The third is the separation between market and democracy. Let me comment briefly on each one of the three separations. Consider the separation between economic sphere and social sphere. Modernity, which we left behind our shoulders in the last 30 years, because today we live in the post-modern epoch, post-modern society, as we know. Usually, post-modernity starts with the beginning of globalization. And as you know, globalization, it's a new phenomenon which started existing in the last 30, 35 years. Now, modernity has left to us the following thought. Society can be visualized as divided between two spheres. In the economic spheres, the purpose of human action is to maximize profits, to maximize wealth, to maximize income, never mind. And the judgment criterion, or the criterion of judgment of human action in the economic sphere is efficiency. Efficiency is the key word. Meritocracy, blah, 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 etc., etc. Only those who are efficient can stay here, inside this sphere. And what about those who, for one reason or another, are not efficient? Efficient means, for instance, are not competitive or are not productive because they are, perhaps they are not intelligent. Intelligence is not the same. Or because they are handicapped, psychic or physical handicap. There are various reasons why people might not be efficient. So where do we put these people? The answer provided by modernity is, or was, in the social sphere. And the social sphere is the set of human relations where the criterion of judgment is solidarity. So you see this dichotomous model of social order, namely efficiency and solidarity. And the attribution is very simple. The market is the place where economic business happens. And the fundamental rule of the market is efficiency, full stop. Then, when we consider the other side of the problem, namely the distribution of wealth, we have to apply to solidarity. And remember that the other needs our help, blah, 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 etc., etc. Now, be careful. This is the model which originated the welfare state. The welfare state is exactly this. When in the 30s in England, Keynes, Lord Beveridge, and later all the other countries followed suit, they had this idea. Let the market function in the way it should do. Americans, they added business is business. What does it mean business is business? That when we do business, we should not bother about ethical consideration, solidarity, no. So the purpose of the economic sphere is to maximize the production of wealth. Then, when we consider the issue of redistribution, then we should invoke the principle of solidarity. Now, that is the encyclical says that is obsolete, cannot possibly work any longer. And that is why the first paradox I mentioned before. Why is it the case that wealth is increasing and inequalities are increasing more than in proportion? Tell me why. Because we have so far been separated efficiency from solidarity. The proposal of the encyclica is to get a marriage. They have to marry. Efficiency should go hand to hand with solidarity. Because if efficiency is separated from solidarity, we run the risk, which is actually a fact, of forgetting that the other is a human being like me. And vice versa, if we separate solidarity from efficiency, what is the result? The result is assistantialism. Because a solidarity which does not take into consideration the budget constraints is doomed to failure, is not sustainable. So the first proposal is to find the ways to put together, to allow the two principles of efficiency and solidarity to march jointly, not separated. The second separation, the one has to do with the fact that in the last 30 years, human labor is no longer conceived as the main source of riches, of wealth. And that is a novelty. Because for at least 3 centuries, all economists, both belonging to the neoliberal or to, let's say, reformist labor side, all of them, in spite of the difference, they agreed on the following statement, that the origin of all wealth is human labor. Could be intellectual labor, manual labor, agriculture, in fact, industry, never mind. But it's human labor, the ultimate source originating wealth. Now, in the last 30 years, what has happened? That is the place where we economists are mainly faulty. We have to take our responsibility. That is the reason why all of us will go to the hell, certainly, possibly, unless Father Joe come to our rescue. Because we started producing, in particular in the American Department of Economics, no, I'm joking, but I mean, what I'm saying is true. If there are economists here present, they can testify. I could give the names. Some of these economists got the Nobel Prize. 3 got the Nobel Prize in economics for having written papers and books saying the following, that the originator of wealth is no longer human labor, but financial speculation. Financial speculation is the real originator of wealth. So if you want to become rich, you should not bother with work. Because I see working is stupid. Because you can get richer if you specialize yourself in speculative markets, in financial transactions. That is the phenomenon which is called financialization of the economy. That is the financialization of the economy. That is the reason why even most firms belonging to the real side, such as factories, etc., they are devoted more and more of their attention to the financial side. Now, why this, let's say, inversion in the causal link between labor and wealth is particularly dangerous, in particular from the point of view of a Christian. Because as you know, for the Christian religion, God has created the world, but did not finish it. Because the seventh day, he was tired. He had to rest. Now, what is the meaning of that, what is written in the Genesis? That the Christian God created the world, but decided not to finish it because he wants us, human beings, to complete the Opus Dei, what is called the Opus Dei, namely the work of his hands, etc. And what is the activity through which we complete the creation? The activity is called labor, human labor. So the very moment that you downgrade the labor, you not only make a sort of a turn from a psychological or economic point of view, what I said before, but it's a way to jeopardize one pillar of Christian faith. Because if you say to somebody, you do not need to work, because you can become or you can obtain what you need to survive, your income in a different way, if you reason that way, it is as if you negate what Aristotle called the human flourishing. Because if we flourish, which means we develop our identity and our capabilities by means of work. So that is why work is not to be confused with job. Job is something, work is something else, as in the English language we got to know very well, etc. So this inversion, this, let's say, cultural change, which has been operating in the last few decades, now it's having a major implication. And that is the reason why it will take, looking into the future, many years before we change that. Because you see, we can change a technical device in few months, but to change the cognitive map, the frame of mind of people takes time. And if you want to take a sort of any practical indicator, go and read the book for children in elementary school. I watch the books of my grandchildren. They are in the elementary school. And they have no comparison with the books of when I was a child. Look and read the stories that we tell to our children in the books or television, etc., and try to obtain, to extract the message. The message is no longer that the centrality of human labor, human work, but the message of different types. That is to say, that is to mean that this second separation has operated not only in the economic sphere, but also in the cultural sphere. And all of us, we have to pay attention. That is why we talk today of the so-called education emergency, or the emergency of education. That is the meaning, because unless we reorient the social and the economic activity towards human labor, what is called by ILO decent work, there is no perspective. We can overcome the present crisis from a technical point of view, but in 10, 15, 20 years, we will be again in another crisis similar to the present one, etc. The third separation, the one between market and democracy. Even that is really a major noble fact. Again, all the